Want more positivity in your life? Subscribe, turn on notifications, follow us, and all that techie stuff. We'd love to hear from you. Comment, share, or give us a thumbs up. We are grateful to have you hanging out with us at Matt Logan Speaks.
Welcome, everybody, to the podcast Thought and Perspective. I have two incredible guests today. Why don't you introduce yourselves?
I am
Wait, no, you go first. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
See, we got to lighten it up a little bit.
We're all new to this, so yeah. No, I'm Christine Stahl. I am the co-owner of the Tap House on Historic 3rd and the Tap House West End.
And that would be Rochester, Minnesota, because we get listeners, in fact, in a lot of different countries. So.
Yes, Rochester, Minnesota.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
I am Natalie Victoria. I co-own Victoria's Restaurant, and I also co-own the Tap House in Rochester, Minnesota, home of the Mayo Clinic. Yes.
Yeah, awesome. We are in Minnesota with a lot of different restrictions that are in place, and the reason that I asked you to be here is because it's illogical to me on Best Buy is open, and Costco is open, and the mall is open, and Target is open, and Walmart is open, and all these other places are open, and the restaurants, the backbone of what I feel is Minnesota and in the United States of America, they're closed. A lot of them are closed. It's frustrating to me. Tell us where you're at with that. How does that make sense? Can you make it make sense?
As far as the fact that we're closed?
Yeah, make it make sense.
It absolutely, there is no logic to it. I mean, especially considering that we are bordering states that are 100% open. Mm-hmm. So we're already a controlled atmosphere at 50% capacity.
I'm going to pause you real quick. Most people right now are going to say, yeah, but those states' COVID numbers are higher. And it's actually not true. We're not a fact-check news program. This is a conversation. But I did look, and our numbers are within less than 1% of those states that are completely open, which includes South Dakota. They don't even have a mask mandate in place. So you're absolutely right. We're in the middle of this, and we're not open, and our COVID numbers are the same.
And we're a controlled atmosphere, though, too. We were, mask compliant.
Yep.
We are, social distance. We are 50% capacity. There is nothing that should make you feel any different about coming into a restaurant than you would standing in line at Hy-Vee or going to Costco. Even sitting at a table. I mean, our tables are, 6 people per table, I believe, that you were limited to?
Well, towards the end, I think it was 10. But for most of, the summer, we were at 6. So, yeah.
And a lot of outdoor, wasn't it? Yeah.
Right.
Outdoor. Yeah, most of our customers sat outside.
Sure.
We did fill up, at 50% capacity inside occasionally. But, yeah, it's tough to sit in a closed restaurant, a brand new closed restaurant at our West End, and watch Costco and watch the customers parking in the street because they can't find a spot to park in the lot, and the McDonald's drive-through next door, out onto the street because both lanes are backed up that far, and we are sitting closed, and we have currently no help for us. We have no help, and and
when you say help, Christine, tell me what that looks like.
So right now we need another PPP.
Okay.
We need a lot of everybody that is in our situation right now is waiting for another PPP. We need it. We absolutely need it. The West End did not get it the first time around because we opened, March 5th,
That's
and
right.
then we had to close March 17th. So we weren't open long enough, to get that, to have that economic history to get the PPP money the first time around. We lived for 3 months on 12 days of income.
Wow.
So, but that being said, that absolutely is important. But perhaps something even more important is our employees have nothing right now. Our employees are getting nothing. I mean, we are how many days before Christmas, and they have no unemployment help at all.
There's no plan in place.
Yep.
Did you see when Wolf Blitzer put Nancy Pelosi kind of on the spot with some of that, I want to say a month ago? You remember any of that on CNN?
Well, I don't follow. I mean, honestly, I don't follow, the Congress and their stimulus package. I have been since the shutdown, but before that, I wasn't following it, so to speak. But, we have local, we have state, we have federal. I mean, the state has a surplus right now. If Governor Walz is going to shut down an industry, let's get into that surplus. And we can't wait around for the federal aid. I mean, they could leave for holiday break, Christmas break next week and leave everybody out to dry until they resume. I mean, we have people sleeping on couches. They don't have a place to go. They're a tipped employee who's getting 60% of their wage from their $10 an hour base wage. So it's $300 a week, I think, is the average unemployment that they're getting.
Well, and that's only if you still have credits left from the first time around. So because when we went through the first shutdown for 3 months, those people applied for unemployment and received unemployment, and then those credits started ticking away.
So the reason I bring up Nancy Pelosi is because she said to Wolf Blitzer, and everybody should go look up the video. Wolf Blitzer, I'm not a CNN person, but he really put her on the spot. And Nancy Pelosi said, wait, we're feeding the people, right? And I don't see it.
So what did Wolf Blitzer put her on the spot for?
About getting a stimulus package back out going and things like that.
And why she
this
wasn't.
This would have been a month. Yep.
And
why
who is
she
she
wasn't
feeding?
doing. And that was the question that I would like to ask. And no one is open to answering any of those difficult questions. And it's really frustrating to me because we talked about off camera. I talked to a lot of people that won't go on camera, right? And we're hurting. Everyone's hurting. And do you know what the percentage of people that work in let's call it a mom and pop type store? You're not a huge chain like Costco, Walmart, etc. What's the percentage in the country that work for people like you?
There are more of those people that work in the small mom and pop shops than there are in those big chain stores. Absolutely. I mean, They are the backbone of small business. And those are the people right now that are barely making ends meet. And the restaurant business in particular is brutal because you're always a month behind on everything. I mean, that's just, you don't realize that until you get into business that you're a month behind. So you have to have enough money in the bank that are going to pay for next month's bills.
Yeah.
So, the first shutdown comes in the Tap House West. We had nothing. I mean, I don't even know how we got through that, but we did. So now everything through the summer is going to have to pay for us to kind of move. I mean, we have a whole 30 days ahead of us that those bills haven't been paid yet.
Yeah.
Well, when we shut down on the 17th, I remember this. Our first payroll came out on the 20th, and then 4 days later, we got our first. All the bills started coming in from when we stocked our shelves to open.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like that reality hit us, and we were like, "Oh my God! I mean, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this?"
What do you say to people that would say, "But you're going to kill my grandma"?
I don't know how to respond to that. I mean, we hear that all the time.
Yeah. You
put out a plea for help or a plea for understanding because you're a small business owner and your whole life is collapsing, and we get those people right away. Yeah. I know somebody that died. I've got this person that died. I know. I mean, and they matter. And we are not heartless people. I mean, we are not heartless people. We care about those people too.
But we are not breeding this illness. So between Victoria's and the 2 tap houses, there is close to 200 employees. And since this whole thing started in March, we've had 5 that tested positive. Mm-hmm. So that just goes to show you that we're not breeding this illness. Mm-hmm. I mean, if that was a fact, everybody would be ill. But on the what is the collateral damage? What is the collateral damage in the end that this is going to cause with people's sense of purpose? I mean, the restaurant industry also has a lot of those people live day to day. They
live day to day, and they're in college, or they're high school students that are saving for college, or they're retired and they need that gap. They need to fill that gap with that income. That's a huge percentage of what is happening out there. Now, what happens in 2 or 3 years? The collateral damage.
Exactly. And and everybody that's hurting from this has their reason. I mean, everybody needs that income for their own reason. It might not be as important. Your reason might not be as important to me because, I think my reason is important, but it's all important. I mean, everybody
But I don't get to
is
decide
struggling.
what's important to you.
No, I understand
I get to decide. And I don't mean that as disrespect. I mean, I get to decide what's important for me.
Correct.
And I should
Correct.
never decide what's important for you.
Correct.
That is not my place.
We kind of feel like that a lot. We have...
And I mean that in a positive way. Mm-hmm. I mean that I trust that you're going to make the right decision for your own life. Mm-hmm. And you have to trust that I'm going to make the right decision for my own life. Mm-hmm.
And I agree. And, and we have been very vocal on our Facebook pages for the Tap House. We have been very vocal, and we are coming from a personal place. I mean, we are coming from a place that this is affecting us, and we have a lot of followers on our page, and we have a platform, and we've decided to use it because we want to get our voice out. And
people are scared to advocate in our industry. They're scared. They're scared to advocate. And
it's not just your industry.
You could be right. I mean, I feel like I talk about this industry the most because I know this industry, but you could be right. But we don't have lobbyists that are working for us. We don't have we have the Hospitality Minnesota, but it's clear that they aren't strong enough, I guess, to kind of help us. So we are our own advocate. And if we have to take that on for other people, we can do that.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Yeah.
And don't get us wrong. This is not a political issue.
Right.
We have had people, we put a post out, and if you follow all of the comments, I mean, it goes political quickly. I mean, that's kind of everybody's scapegoat. For us, 100%, this is not a political issue. We will go after our city leaders for answers. I mean, we will be direct. We will take the direct path, and we will ask those people that we can get answers from. I mean, we will do that, but it doesn't matter their political affiliation. And as far as the city council goes, I mean, they don't have a political affiliation as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they work for all of us. They work for us. They're our city leaders. So
are they working for you? Have they responded?
No.
No, don't dancing. I'm not a good dancer.
I think locally, much more can be done. At the local level,
Correct.
much more could have been done.
Yeah.
Correct.
Much more could have been done. Absolutely.
Yeah, correct.
But
So did they, Christine, you danced quite well with that answer. You were trying to. Have they answered you directly? Have they actually put any effort out there to help mitigate your issues?
Well, I would then turn that back and say, which issue?
Good.
We had, for example, a situation with some CARES money that was supposed to be given to us. The city, or the
federal
city,
stimulus money that was
Correct.
granted to small businesses that flowed down to the local level to be distributed. So then it got renamed.
It was, we kind of call it hijacked by the city.
Yeah.
And actually, when that article came out in the Post Bulletin, we were at home and my husband was reading the paper, and he said, "Hey, let me read this to you." And he's reading this article about the CARES money coming from the city, going to be distributed to small business with liquor licenses. And it was going to be a $3,500, I believe, gift from the city.
$3,000.
Of a gift,
Okay.
from the city of Rochester, given to kind of offset the cost of the liquor licenses to business. And I said, wait a minute, read that again. And he reads it again. I go, okay, so wait, so money that's already ours, apparently, is being taken and set aside from the city and now being redispersed to us from the city as a gift.
Yeah.
So I guess our
That's
question...
dancing.
Well, that's
I mean,
dancing.
not you.
Yes,
the city.
correct. And so we were like, okay, so whatever, that's fine. We need that money. We'll take it. So we waited and waited and waited, and we never got our money. And we were put on a list saying that, hey, we were a recipient of that money. We made emails, we made calls, nothing to be returned from the city clerk's office, and we got frustrated. And now they were starting the second round of money's coming out. We're like, wait a minute, we never saw our first round, so we're gonna, bring this out and we're gonna talk about it. And we were called liars. We were called, everything. We had people coming out on the social media page saying that, hey, you're on this list, and let me show you what else you got, and you've basically received your fair share, so be quiet.
Sure.
And we're like, well, we haven't gotten it yet. We might be on a list, but we haven't gotten it.
Yeah.
And I think that post came out over the weekend. I think we posted that Sunday night, and Monday morning I got a call from a
Public works employee.
city clerk's office employee, and I also received a call from a city council member who, yep, you did not receive your money, and we're looking into it. Okay, that's fine. And
That was
and then
a
we
few
were
weeks ago?
quiet. Yep, that was a couple weeks ago, and we were quiet, and we sat and watched all the comments from other city council members who knew we didn't get the money, but continued to say,
Well, they went on air.
They went on
They
air
did a TV interview
on
So
KAAL.
It's and we came back with the rebuttal because it was there was no incomplete information. There was no false. Nothing was falsified, and we did get our check cut that week and moved on. But the city of Rochester has DMC going on right now. We have a beautification process downtown that's kind of basically taking the heart of the city, and they're putting diamond earrings on it and lipstick and things like that, which.
That's a good way to put it. I like that.
Which will come to an end hopefully here soon. So downtown in of itself has other issues aside from COVID. So that's kind of going on too. But I feel like there's a disconnect between the local people and the local hospitality industry. And I think everybody kind of feels that way as well. I mean, we are on an island. It's, you're just kind of out there, and no one's checking in on you. No one's advocating for you. No one, I mean, you are clearly the enemy, because, you have been labeled that way. So, yeah.
And that's kind of been our question through this whole shutdown and this whole pandemic. It's like, who's supposed to be advocating for us? And there isn't anybody. I mean, we haven't heard from city leaders. We haven't had anybody, walking the streets from, any of the city leaders walking the streets going, hey, we can do this safely. We can get out there and we can support
Starting a
our
campaign,
businesses.
Eat well,
Yes.
be well, or
Yes.
really rallying up Rochester to get out there. And Rochester's a community that already does a lot of that on its own, but it would be great to have that narrative coming down from city. From the city
Leadership
officials.
is extremely important, especially in this. And I haven't seen that just trying to look from. I don't live in Rochester, as you know, but I try to look at as much as I can. And just the leadership, I feel the things I've seen in the news and these other things that have been going on, their focus isn't to local businesses.
Right.
That's what I see on the outside. I don't know what's going on the inside. That's why we're having conversation. But I think that's so important that they're not going to be getting any taxes because you're all going to be shut down forever. They can't get the taxes from the Costco's and the Walmarts and all these things for the city of Rochester. I don't understand why they're not advocating a lot more for the small local businesses, because you can't fit as many people in your buildings. You're going to watch it more carefully because guess what? You're on the line for it, right? You want to make this work. So you're not going to let people come in there and have 30 or 40 people if that's against the rules and the order. And you're going to make sure that those things happen. Let me ask you a contact tracing question. I hear from people, they do ask questions. They get pretty specific, but they leave out the Best Buys and the Costco's and the Walmarts and the Targets in that contact tracing. Have you seen that? You said
Yes.
5 people that you can trace that have contracted COVID. What would you say the 5 people against how many thousands?
So those 5 people were.
But I guess what I'm saying is, sorry, Natalie, is 5 people in how many months from when we knew about COVID to when that took place?
Our 5 employees.
7 months.
7 months.
March.
So then there's thousands of people that are going through your facility,
Absolutely.
eating. So 5 people in 7 months.
Well, and actually at our downtown location, we just had our first positive employee 2 weeks before we closed. Again,
Sure.
the second time. So we went the whole summer, from June, and our downtown location was closed. We didn't do takeout, so we closed that one down completely. So when we opened in June and up until just, 2 weeks before we were shut down is when we had our first case. And it was an employee.
Right,
So
but-
thousands of people are going through there. Your employees
Yes.
are having contact with hundreds probably of other people in their daily lives.
Yep.
So
Right. Right.
Right? So look at those numbers. You're talking about thousands of people in contact with.
And they eat at the restaurant.
And there's only 5.
They eat unmasked.
I was in Menards recently, and there was thousands of people in Menards. There's probably 1,000 people in there.
Okay, so here's a good example. So the list that comes out. So I don't know if it's Olmsted County or if it's a state list, but that list of all the restaurants in the state of Minnesota who have been traced or linked to COVID.
Yes.
So there were 5 from Rochester that were on that list. One, I won't mention it, but one was a brand new restaurant. So you mean to tell me that restaurant is breeding that?
I see.
Or is it that, hey, it's a new restaurant and everybody and their brother in the last 2 months has tried it out.
Yes.
So that's going to be on your list.
Yes.
Because the number 2 question that they ask you when you turn up positive is, what bars and restaurants have you been in the last 14 days? Not where have you been since you have contacted. I mean, because that's the other thing. A lot of people know when they got this.
Yeah.
A lot of people know, they know that, okay, so I was with Tom, Dick, and Harry on Friday, and, Tom tested positive on Monday. I know I got it from him.
Yeah.
So they don't ask you, where have you been since you contacted, the COVID. They say, in the last 14 days, where have you been?
But then they come out with a report that 50% of the positive people have been to restaurants and bars.
Correct.
Which is, if you take that and break that down, so what about Hy-Vee? How many of those people have been to the grocery store? How many people have been to the gas station? How many people have been to Walmart or Target or the mall? So because 50% have been going out to restaurants and bars, that is clearly misleading.
And what I wanted to say about that is, have you been fact check on Facebook yet? Have they put a fact check on any of your posts?
What is
that?
Well, we've had posts.
I get fact checked.
I'm sure
plenty.
you do.
Right? So they put this little thing on there that says, they fact checked out of context, right? Something is out of context. So why is it, if I say something or I put something out there and it's out of context, or I share something or whatever it is, that I'm out of context, but they won't talk about what you just said? They won't talk about all the thousands of people, the 50% that in restaurants.
But that's our problem. We're not talking about this.
Yes.
The narrative
Yes,
is,
thank you.
Don't go to bars,
It's
don't go
all
to
about
restaurants.
context.
Right.
And it has nothing to do, in my opinion, with bars. And, they talked about, this just came out, I think Governor Walz just said this recently, or it was in an article, and people please check this. But they say that the small gatherings is where all this COVID spike is coming from. Okay, wait a minute. First it was that all these super spreader events were the cause of it. And now it's the small gatherings, and it's the restaurants, and it's, wait a minute, it cannot be all of them.
Okay, so
It's context again here. You know what I'm saying? It is so misleading, and we have such short memory spans that everybody's free. Oh, we can't have small gatherings. It's coming from small gatherings.
But if you also remember last May, the prediction was our surge was going to happen late fall, early winter. So here we are. It's late fall, early winter, and we have a surge.
Memories.
Surprise.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every time you listen to the CDC, the next 2 to 3 weeks will be the worst. That has been also the narrative
from the
since
beginning.
March or April.
Yes.
The next 2 weeks. We're going to follow the next 2 weeks closely. I don't know how long they expect people to live in a bubble. I don't know, because if they're not going to restaurants and bars, I think they're going to have twice the problem, because they're still going to gather, and they're going to gather in an uncontrolled area, and they're going to gather. I mean, you're not going to stop people from gathering. You are not going to stop people from gathering.
We have a constitution that has its issues, but we have a constitution that has a lot of strengths. And I think that if they would allow people to live by the Constitution, I think we'd be in a very different place. I don't think we would have the fear that we would have. I think we would have South Dakota. We would have the same numbers of COVID as we do in Minnesota, when everybody's afraid in Minnesota, and nobody wants to do this or that or the other thing, that they're going to lose their job if they catch COVID, or they're going to, now we have to tell them where we went, and all these other things that go along with it. That makes zero sense, and you're absolutely right. We have already seen the collateral damage. I know more people who have committed suicide than who have died of COVID. That's
But we don't
real.
talk about that. We don't talk about that. We're
I
saving
agree.
lives. We're
It's
saving
a context thing. We got to look at the entire
Absolutely.
context, people.
Absolutely.
Wake up. And I'm not saying conspiracy and going down that path, but why has it been, in your opinions, why has it been only one? And here's how I put it most of the time. It's sleight of hand. What does a magician do? Magician does something with one hand and does the magic with the other, right? So what's going on over here? What are we not seeing? Why aren't we looking over here? Why are we looking at one thing?
So are you asking, why are we shut down? Why did he choose
Why?
us?
Yeah.
Because he can. So we don't have
How
a
can
strong
he?
enough lobby that are fighting for us. And
Open.
he has to look like he is
I'll
doing
come.
something to contain.
I know,
I'll
but
come eat. Open.
but the problem
I'll
is
bring friends.
we talk about this. We talk about this all the time. I mean, we are.
I tell you what, I have a friend who's guaranteed $10,000 for legal fees if you open.
Well, and that's
That's
the
true.
problem. Okay, but
on
that's
the
the
table.
problem.
And you probably could here in Rochester, because I don't think the police really want to go and, drag your customers out and shut you down. But
For the record, it's not my 10,000.
we wouldn't care where it came from.
And we
but-
we also have to be cautious too that we are in the Med City, home of the Mayo Clinic, so we want to be respectful of that. But on the flip side, we have 2 weeks that have passed. I'm sure everything's going to be blamed on Thanksgiving for the fact that the COVID cases are super high because we haven't been open. So another 2 weeks are going to happen, and COVID's going to be high again, and we're going to be doing explanation again for where are these cases, because we again are taking the fall on the sword.
Best Buy was open. You can't go and gather with family, but Best Buy can have a line all the way outside the door locally in Rochester, Minnesota. I drove around on Black Friday. Places were open.
I know. And Matt, we have, so downtown Victoria's in particular
So again,
is adjacent to all those hotels. Yes.
we've
yes.
got,
I know.
look at this,
Yes.
look at here, look at
I
here,
know.
look at
Yes.
here.
Yes.
You've got people, for those who are listening, I'm goofing around with my right hand saying, look at my right hand. All the while, something's going on over here.
But what would happen if you closed Best Buy or those big box stores? What would happen?
Well, clearly you wouldn't spread COVID.
But they're not spreading
Tongue in cheek.
COVID, though we are. I mean,
Tongue
we
in
are.
cheek.
I know. No, I know.
Okay, so Matt, we have people in hotels that have to get their food to go and they have to bring it back to their hotel room that has a desk and a bed, and they have to eat their food there because they're safer. They're safer.
Right. Yeah. No, and the idea of this that I want, I was interviewed in, I did a school assembly, and there was media there, and in an interview, the lady said, after hearing you speak on this, she said, you completely changed my mind about the way I view distracted driving, and is that your intention, that you want to change people's mind? And I said, I have absolutely zero interest in changing people's mind. My interest, what I want to do, is provoke people's thought, right? I want people to think. I will never tell them what to think, but I want to show them how to think, right?
Yeah.
And why is our leadership not allowing us to open up our thought process in communicating with the general public? Why have they visited your restaurant and say, what can we do to help? I want to flat blank ask you that.
No.
They haven't shown up.
No.
What can we do to help? I did.
You did?
I said, what can I do to help?
And you and
I'm
many
nobody.
many other community members have asked that. But if you're asking if an
Oh.
actual city official has asked that, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
We have.
They should have done that to every single business in the city. And if they want to come on the program, the show,
I know,
they're
but
invited.
we have DMC happening, Matt. Bigger and better things are, going on right now. That's taking up the attention.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and back to your point about, you have $10,000 to put towards legal fees. The sad thing is, in the state, that won't even cover the fine. So, I mean, you have to realistically look and, because people say that all the time, just open. Okay, well, we do. We open, and just like the guy in Pine Island. I mean, so how far can you take it? How far financially can you afford to take it? Because you are going to end at the local. You're going to be defeated at the local level. You will be defeated, the AG,
The ultimate goal
the
is
governor.
to get to the federal Supreme Court. I mean,
Correct.
absolutely. But is that going to be in a year and a half when,
Yeah.
maybe this is going to be well behind
Hundreds
us?
of thousands
Yes,
of
and
dollars
I
later.
understand that for sure. But what if 20 businesses did it? What if
You would,
20
you would
businesses?
need to have you'd have to have
you know,
80% of them
right.
on board, for sure.
Absolutely. And the thing is that our Texas was it beauty salon that opened way in the beginning, right?
Yep.
She was all her costs were covered, and she was found to not be against the Constitution, including the Constitution of their state, and all those different things. So I think Staten Island, the restaurant bar
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
there,
I saw that in the news this morning.
and did you California Riverside County is it Riversdale County?
Pineapple
The
Grill.
lady,
No, not her, but the sheriff. The sheriff came out and said, "We're not going to this is unconstitutional. We're not going to arrest people. We're not going to go to their place of business and try to enforce these laws or these orders that people think are laws."
Well, Matt, you also have, and not only in California but elsewhere, you have governing bodies telling you to stay home while they are in Mexico or while they are on vacation or they're on an airplane. I mean,
Yeah,
so-
Steve, the Austin mayor, records a video
Yeah.
saying, "Don't travel for Thanksgiving. Don't see your family for Thanksgiving." And where does he record that video? Cabo San Lucas with his
Yes.
family that he flew down there in a
Yep.
private jet with a lot of people, and there was a wedding that they were having down there and all these things. So
Yes.
he can stand up in front of a camera and say that and do the exact opposite.
Right.
Correct.
I'm out. I'm
The-
done now.
The hypocrisy.
When they do that,
Yes.
I'm
same
done.
way. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I'm done.
But
I'm done.
it
Governor
happens.
Walz does the same thing. Wear a mask, social distance. Was just found that he was in a group of people, not socially distanced, not wearing a mask. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has been busted twice on camera for going out to dinner with people. And oh, by the way, they are part of the medical examiners in the state of California, not social distance, not wearing masks. I am done with them now. I've been to California. It is shut down. I am tired of it.
But Matt, that happens at a local level too. We see it.
Then we need to
see
call
it
them out
all
on
the
it.
time.
We need to call them out on it, and they need to be accountable.
And I'm not saying it's local officials. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not calling out local officials with that hypocrisy. But, I mean, it's all over social media. I mean, it's everywhere. You got to mask up. You got to do this. You got to do this. Don't do this. Don't go out, whatever. I mean, we see it. And then, but we're going to do it safely.
See,
yes, that's what I say.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm going to do because I can do it safely. It's like all the house parties. I mean, it's like drive through any neighborhood and you got the garage up and now you got the new, TV area out in the garage with the big screen TV and everybody's partying out there, but they're going to do it safely. I mean, that's
rules
neither
for
here
thee,
nor
but
there.
not for me.
Or the
Correct.
people that post on there, we gathered, but we all had a COVID test first. I mean,
Yeah. Or,
but
we're
that
safe.
again is using Facebook.
You can
for-
literally, I'm going to say, you can literally
the wrong
have
reasons.
a COVID test. You go to a gas station. You contract COVID. You go to the party.
Absolutely.
And you now spread it to everybody.
But you're
Yeah.
logical. You thought
Rules
that
for
yourself.
thee, but not for me.
We see it. We have friends in common on Facebook, and the one person in particular is very, you got to mask up, you got to stay safe, you can't go out. I don't feel comfortable going out. Blah blah blah. And then a couple days later, they're liking, the friend's post of everybody, the picture of everyone gathering in their garage. So it's like, I mean, we see it. I mean, it's frustrating, and that plays into that's a huge part of this huge mess.
And of course, it's happening. All the positive cases that are being reported. I mean, people-
we spoke. So I have been in contact with the Olmsted Public Health gal who takes care of the tap house, and not in the last right before the shutdown. And she said she agreed, because I was sharing frustration with her and, saying that.
Oh, but back up. It's because we got a phone call from them wanting us to explain ourselves why our parking lot had people parking in the street and it was full, and a passerby called them to let them know.
Okay, that was the okay.
Because cars are supposed to social
Yeah.
distance.
That was the last warm Friday night before it kind of started to get cold, and every place in town was busy. Every place in
patio
town
was busy.
Yeah, and our patio, we were on a wait. I worked that whole day. I worked open to close that day, so I knew when she said it was, well, it's a complaint from Friday night. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So did people turn up sick? I'm thinking, oh my God,
Yeah.
what happened? And
Yeah.
I was there. I knew we were following rules. I knew we had everybody masked. I knew we were following the distance, guidelines and everything. Our entire patio is already set up 6 feet, distanced and all that kind of thing. So I'm like, oh my God. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And she goes, no. She goes, well, actually, it wasn't somebody that actually stepped foot in your restaurant. And I said, okay. I said, were they on the patio? And she goes, well, no, they actually drove by. And they were quite concerned because your parking lot was so full that people were parking out into the street. And I was really taken aback. I was like, okay, wait a minute. And I had to kind of like calm down. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. So, and she goes, well, they were just really concerned because your patio wasn't full either. And I said, okay, it was 80 degrees.
Every patio in Rochester was full, trust me.
Yeah, it was 75 degrees until 9 o'clock. I said, I left at 10 o'clock and we were still on an hour wait for our patio that night. I mean, we had people waiting in their cars for a seat on our patio. And I said, so you're calling to tell me that a passerby was concerned that we weren't social distancing but never actually stepped foot on my property? And I said, so are cars supposed to social distance? Because last I heard, it was just the people. It wasn't the cars. And I got frustrated on a lot of things because this public health person actually did our initial walkthrough.
You can lean back a little more.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. I'll just move that so you can.
This health department person actually did our initial walkthrough, so they know that we have 100 parking spots in our parking lot.
Sure.
They know that.
And actually 25 are used right now for more patio seating.
Yeah.
So 75.
Again, we're back to context.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yep.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Exactly.
But then still, on even kind of taking that a little bit further, so that person that was driving by that obviously reported something they didn't see, but there was something that struck a nerve in them that we were busy. That here is a business that's doing well, so we can't have that either. We can't have that. And that's, some of the frustration.
But that goes down to us being the enemy again. That goes down to the narrative coming from March that bars and restaurants are causing
Correct.
this virus and spreading this virus. So now you were shut down for 3 months. We are open and we're busy one night, and all of a sudden we shouldn't be busy.
Following all the rules, but now
Controlled
that
atmosphere, for
yep,
sure.
but that person, driving by felt uncomfortable. So,
Well, we could talk about statistics in driving because it was more dangerous for them to be looking at what you were
Correct.
doing and going on. I know a lot about statistics
point.
in driving.
good point.
I know, so I mean, people need to stop and think is really my point. They need to stop and think. Why are you living in fear? Why are you, Mr. Governor Walz, I understand if this ever got back to you, I'm sure it won't, but I understand that he's got a difficult job, right? He does.
Absolutely.
I don't want to take that away from him. But again, I would ask him, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? Do you know, Mr. Governor, the people that have committed suicide? Are you looking at that? Do you think he is?
No.
What about Minnesota's traffic deaths are up this year? Is he looking at that? What is that from? Why is it up? There's less people on the road.
But again,
And I
that's
could keep
behavior
going.
patterns. I feel like sometimes we're stuck on data that we forget to kind of, behavior patterns are a big part of it also.
Correct. And if we want to just look at data, what data are you looking at, right? The gyms are shut down as well.
Right, right.
And his own data from the governor's office that I looked at, the percentage of people that contracted COVID from fitness gyms is extremely small.
Agree 100%.
Okay.
It was less than like
It
was
it's-
less than like
it's
0.1%.
so small.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you're going to shut the gyms down? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm done with you again. Mm-hmm. Aren't we supposed to be fit and healthy? Isn't that one of the best ways to fight any virus?
Absolutely.
Is to go into it strong. Mm-hmm. My shirt says shiny. And this is my own acronym. This is what I teach on. And the first word is strong. When I go in to teach people, I want to help them be strong. It doesn't stand for safe. If we're going to be safe, we need to be strong. Mm-hmm. And this safetyism thing is really what they're trying to do. We got to be safe. Got to be safe. Mm-hmm. It's time to start being.
Well,
strong.
small businesses are safe. You
But
can
you're
be
strong,
guaranteed.
and you're safe because you're strong.
Right.
Because
you can
you're
be
there every day.
guaranteed.
You were there
Exactly.
when that person drove by.
Exactly.
You are there every day, and you're going to make sure that you are strong and your staff is strong, and that's the only way to be safe. Period.
95% of small mom and pop shops will make sure that you're safe.
Absolutely.
There's no question. Entrepreneurs are not going to put everything they have on the line to walk away.
No.
They're not.
No. Not ever.
I mean, do you think we want our name out there associated with something negative? I mean, we don't. And that's 100% correct what she just said. I mean, that's why we strive every single day
Yes.
so that doesn't happen.
Yes. And the thing for me that okay, you're going to trust the politicians that aren't going to be gone in 4 or 5 years from now, whether they retire, whether they're voted out or whatever. And you're going to call on your neighbor and say that they have too many people over. Who's going to be there in 10 years or 20 years from now? Mm-hmm. We talked about that off camera too, right? We need discourse with people who are our neighbors. We need people that we're going to be able to go get sugar from, and we're going to be able to run to their house because our house is on fire.
Right. You don't want to cut
The
through a
governor,
relationship.
You can't.
For sure.
You can't run to the governor. You can't run to the mayor.
Right.
You can't run to the city council. Clearly, you can't run to any of them right now. The house is on fire. The house is on fire.
The fact that we are at a point where one neighbor would consider that onto another neighbor is astounding to me. To me, the whole idea of common sense in this whole thing has disappeared. It's amazing to sit back and watch and think that it's like stuff you see on TV. I mean, this stuff doesn't happen. Really, we're going to turn on our neighbors?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that is absolutely, I mean, and like your neighbor or not, I mean, who does that?
Yeah.
You just don't do that. I don't know. It's amazing that we're at that point.
Well, again, everybody wants to blame somebody, though. It's somebody's fault for everything. I mean, that's kind of the society that we're in.
That's when you create a safe society. You're trying to blame. You will always blame something else, someone else.
Right.
The table broke, and that's it had
Who
nothing to
sat
do
on
with
it
I was
last?
standing
Yeah.
on it. You know, I was changing a light bulb standing on the table, and the table broke. Well, what the freak were you doing standing on the table?
Yeah.
It's not made for that.
But you don't grow that way. You don't grow.
Correct.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to do that and be strong. You had mentioned that you were stalking me on my Facebook page, which is fantastic. Thank you for doing that. But did you notice my slogan, "Together we're building a culture of courage," or whatever it says? I can't remember. There's too much in my brain floating around. I don't know if you noticed that, but that's the first thing that on all of my social media, together we're creating a culture of courage. What does it mean to be courageous? You don't call on your neighbor
Correct.
and tattle on them. You don't sit back and say this is okay and that's okay because it's harming something else. You can't advocate for one thing all the while you're doing this over here. So we have to. You mentioned you don't want to be associated with the negative press, so to speak, right? In this whole thing. But
at this point, right. And at this point,
Right.
I mean,
you're going. That's the whole cancel culture, right? You're going to make somebody mad,
right,
regardless.
and
of
that's
what
okay.
You do.
At this point, that's okay because we need to advocate for ourselves. There's nobody else out there.
Yeah.
And if we need to advocate for the little guy that is too scared to advocate, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah. I said to you too, when we first kind of were chatting before we started, but that we are different people today than we were 9 months ago before this whole thing, started. It's adversity. When you go through something like this, it changes you, and you realize, what's important, and you you find your strength, and you do what you have to do to get through it and to survive it. And it might not be the popular opinion, and it might, if it means that we're sitting there at 10 o'clock at night and we are feeling all this stuff and we're frustrated and we're hurt, and, and we put it out there publicly, then we do it, and that's us, and that's honest. And this is, like she said, there are people that don't have that avenue or don't have the courage to do that, and we're okay. We kind of feel a lot of the times like we have the courage to say stuff, and we get out there and we do it publicly, and we kind of feel like maybe some of the time we fall on the sword for some of these other people, and we're okay with that. We'll do it.
They're scared. They want someone to take the lead.
Scared.
They want someone to take the lead. They're calling us constantly. They're texting us constantly. People in the industry, where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at?
But like you said,
okay.
There's nothing left. What do we have to lose, really?
Right.
What do we have to lose? So we get out there and we say, it's time to stand up for ourselves. We have to, because it's been proven to us that there's not going to be anybody that's going to do it for you. So we have to do it. We have to do it. And we have people that are kind of with us, and, that are, and we have a lot of people that are on our side. And if you look at some of those Facebook posts, we have some of the naysayers, and you're always going to get those people, but you look at our likes, we had over 800 likes, and we had 5 maybe naysayers that really kind of came out publicly against us, and I really don't care about them anymore. I really don't. We're beyond that. Maybe you need to sit this one out. Maybe if you don't have skin in the game, maybe you need to sit this one out. Maybe you can't.
And at the end of the day, it's likes aside, you're trying to get a point out there, whether or not you have, the people that want to pontificate on Facebook or this, that. We had a message that we needed to get out there. We used our platform to get it out there. That's okay too. That's okay.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
It's okay.
And you're not saying that everybody should come to your restaurant.
No,
Correct.
You're saying that those who want to come, we should have the opportunity to serve them.
Yeah.
Right.
If grandma needs to stay home, grandma should stay home.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
If, my mom
I believe
has
grandma
asthma,
should stay home.
Yes, my mom has asthma. Of course we're going to be careful.
Right.
We always were.
Yeah.
If we were sick, we wouldn't go around mom. This is the way it is. Why did that change? I know you don't. We can't answer that. We beaten a dead horse. My mom loves horses, so I got to add that in there, right? There's a horse right out back. You probably didn't even realize that pulling in. It's not dead though, but
Sleeping.
No, and I think that I don't know how long you want to go here on this, but I think that one of the things that provoking people's thought is this, and I don't know if you saw, I made a post that I was curious the last time you called out somebody for smoking. Did you see that one?
I don't think so.
So here's why, because you both, one of the two of you mentioned, I can't remember which, but you said all the direct messages that you got supporting that they didn't want to come out publicly, right? So I made that post that I was curious the last time that you called out somebody for smoking, someone that you didn't know. And I do things strategically, and there's more things coming in the following weeks. But I got probably 4 or 5 dozen direct messages from that post.
Like private messages.
Private messages, yeah. Sorry. Direct message, private message. Very few likes, but my messages blew up. And here's why I said that. I was in another state with very similar mandates that we have. Masks everywhere. I'm 40 or 50 feet away in a parking lot walking through it. And there's a young lady, late 20s, I would say, kid in the car, clearly pregnant, mask hanging on her chin while she's smoking. And she screams at me to put my mask on while she's smoking, obviously very pregnant. And I see people all the time screaming at other people to put their mask on. But it's okay for you to smoke while you're pregnant. And we have all kinds of science that says how horribly dangerous that is for you and especially for your unborn child. Another lady chimes in and she said, yeah, don't you know that we have a mandate or a mask law in our state? You got to be wearing a mask. I'm 40 or 50 feet away. And they're doing this. And this lady didn't know the other one, clearly. But she says nothing about her smoking while she's pregnant. Now think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that narrative. Think about the fear. People think.
Mm-hmm.
8 months pregnant, smoking, 8-ish, I don't know, obviously, I don't know how many months, but very pregnant. Kid in the car, smoking, screaming at me to put my mask on because I'm going to kill somebody. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Stop looking at the right hand.
Mm-hmm. People
start looking at the whole picture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have to do that. That's scary to me. That's super scary to me. 70+% of the people who have contracted COVID wear a mask 100% of the time,
mm-hmm.
according to the CDC.
Where'd they get it? How'd they get it?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I still think 10 years down the road, you're going to look back at this and you're going to think, what did we do?
Mm-hmm.
What did we do?
Mm-hmm.
Shutting schools down,
you know what I'm
shutting.
Gonna think? What I think, though, I'm going to think to myself, why didn't you do something? And why didn't you do something when you knew better?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on me,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to do something. I am speaking up. I'm having you on the show.